Hi friends and welcome to another video. My name is Julie if you're new here, and today I'm going to tell you about my 24 books for 2024. I already did a similar video last year and I don't think it went the way I expected it to. Basically it's about making a list of the books you want to read in the next year, and I did that. I don't think I read all of the books that I put on the list of the 23 for 2023. I think I didn't even get close. So this time I really tried to put together a list that are books that I already own, because it's one of my goals anyways to read more of my physical TBR. And also because that makes it way easier for me to just pick them up and start reading. And these are books that are really important to me, not in the sense that they are like these great books that that have this really fancy plot or anything. Some of them do, but not all of them are like the most important literature that's out there probably, if you were to judge them objectively. But these are books that I've wanted to read for a long time now, and I finally want to get to them this year because that's something that I really struggle with. So let's dive right into my 24 for 2024. I'm going to start with a book that I already started reading. I got this one in England and I got it from the library, but I had to go back home, so I bought it at the airport. It is called On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. And it's this book that is about a son writing a letter to his mother and about their relationship, basically explaining their relationship in a very poetic writing style, I would say. And it also tells the story about him being a Vietnamese immigrant in the US and his whole family history, the history of the war. And all of that is really, really interesting to me. I want to read more kind of world literature, or like literature that covers different cultures. And even though this is set in the US, I think it's telling an important story about immigrants in the US. So that's why I was really drawn to this book and interested in reading it. Also, I'm going to Vietnam in March, so I think it's kind of important to me personally to inform myself about the country and experiences that people from this country had, even though it is, as I said, set in the US. I think that's very important to kind of inform yourself about that, or I personally want to read books from the countries I visit because I think that's cool, and it's kind of, I don't know, in my mind being respectful towards the culture. And this is definitely not like the best example for this because it's not set in Vietnam, but I also plan on reading maybe more Vietnamese books this year. So this is just kind of a placeholder for that as well. Okay, that was that. Going to continue with the next book. This one is a fantasy. I think 2024 is kind of going to be my year of fantasy books. I already finished a fantasy duology. I'm in the middle of reading a fantasy book. I plan to read so many fantasy books. This is going to be my fantasy year, which is something that I didn't expect, to be honest. I'm more of a romance girly normally, but I'm not mad at it. I'm really in the mood to read more fantasy, and that's nice. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is part of that. It's called Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco, I guess. And I have heard about this book on the Booklius channel a lot. She has really praised this and I trust her opinion, so that's why I picked it up. It's the first part of a series. I think I'm going to start probably many series this year. I don't know if that's a smart idea, because maybe it would be smarter to finish one of them first, but of course I also want to read. If I say I want to read this one, I also plan on reading the other ones in the series if I like this one. It's stupid to purchase multiple parts of a series if I don't know if I like them. So yeah. This one is about witches, I think. Yeah, it's about Emilia and her twin sister Vittoria and her and Emilia's twin sister gets murdered, and then she wants to take revenge, and I'm all for female rage in books. And she tries to use dark magic for that, and I think it doesn't go so well. And then she meets like a demon, hell king, whatever, and I guess that's going to be a love story maybe. So yeah, this is all that I know about this book. I think it sounds really interesting. I want to read more about female witches because the last books I have read about wizardry have mostly been about men, at least as far as I remember. So that's interesting, and I'm really, really excited for that. Next one is The Atlas Six. This book is so, so beautiful, and it is by Olivia Blake, and I have heard so much about Olivia Blake. Even after purchasing this book, I have heard so many about her other books. I think Alone with You in the Ether is by her as well. So definitely interested, if I like this one, to pick up more books by this author. And I think this one is about magic as well, but different types of magics, and there's this competition or something like that where different magicians have to compete with each other, and only like 5 of the 6 of them can survive and get the possibility to study, I don't know, some ancient writings from the Library of Alexandria or something like that, I don't know. I just heard magic, competition, fighting for your life, and I kind of got invested because it kind of also reminds me of the Hunger Games for some reason. I don't expect this to be like the Hunger Games, but that's what came to my mind when I read about the plot. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. I've heard so much about this book already, and there's also a second part, and it's also part of me wanting to dive deeper into the dark academia genre, because I really, really enjoyed Leigh Bardugo's The Ninth House, and that got me hooked, and now I want to read more books like it. So this is going to be part of that, and this book's kind of also stands for that in this selection. Then I also have 2 other books that kind of stand for a genre or subgenre of books that I want to get into, and that is Greek mythology retellings. My favorite book is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and I thought, why don't I read more of that? If that's my favorite book, I should pick up some more Greek mythology retellings, right? And that's what I'm going to do. I already started with 1 book, but the books that I'm going to read are Lore by Alexander Bracken, and then also similar title, Lore Olympus, which is, I guess it was a webtoon comic, and it is now a graphic novel. So it is something different, but something that I'm also really excited for. Also the beginning of a series, of course, because this is, I don't know, my year of beginning new series apparently. And it isn't even that short, I think. But yeah, there's definitely multiple ones. They already showed it in here. I'm not going to tell you in detail what these are about. I think most of these books I already talked about in book haul, so if you're interested in that, just check out my book hauls, and there are going to be more books that I also want to read this year because I purchased them, obviously. This one is about Persephone, and I don't know how to pronounce him in English, but probably Hades. And I already read another book, like the other Greek mythology retelling book I read was about the same couple. So, kind of interested to see this story being told in a different way and in a different format as well, because it's a graphic novel. And Lore by Alexander Bracken is not about the same couple, but also a love story, I believe. I am not sure. On the cover it looks like Medusa, but I don't know if that should tell me anything or not. Maybe that's not even relevant. So yeah, these were the 2 Greek mythology retellings. And also if we are going to stay in the kind of on the magical side of things, I also want to read this one, Crave by Tracy Wolff. Also, first part of a series. Don't know if that was a smart decision to put all of these on my list. But anyways, I really want to read them, so I'm going to make it happen somehow. This one, just the cover, it reminds me so much of Twilight, and I'm still chasing that feeling that I had when I read Twilight for the first time as a teenager. So that's kind of hopefully going to be a little bit nostalgic for me. Not just Twilight, but in general fantasy books. I think there was also another series that I read. I don't remember the title, I think, but it was definitely also about vampires going to this boarding school. And this one is also, I think, about vampires going to a boarding school. So I hope I'll get back some of this same excitement. And it has a map in the beginning. Not really a map, I think more of an illustration of the academy, but that's really beautiful. I don't think I saw that before. So yeah, I really like the details in this, especially like in the blurb in here. They have highlighted certain letters and in a red color, so they stand out of the text and they give this kind of secret message, I guess, because it says monster. And that reminds me so much of Taylor Swift and giving like Easter eggs and codes in her song lyric books. So yeah, it kind of makes me excited. This book makes me excited. All of the others do too, obviously, but like that's a nice touch. And then also a third mythology retelling I want to read, which I don't have with me, but I did already check it out of my library, is called Stone-Blind by Natalie Haynes. And I think maybe that was even on my list last year, but I just didn't get to it. And now I really want to read it. I already checked it out, so there's a really high chance of me reading it. That one definitely is about Medusa, if this one isn't. So I'm really interested in that because I'm really interested in Medusa's story. I just think there's something there about her being like the one you can look at, and I don't know. There definitely is the potential for a very emotional story. So, looking forward to it. More fantasy, as I've said, fantasy year, and also more series. A book that I think I just have to pick up because it has been so pushed towards me and towards everyone in Goodreads, online, bookstores, whatever. I have heard so much about this book and the series. It is Fourth Wing. And then I also put Iron Flame on this list because if there's one series that I want to pick up the second part for, definitely it's going to be that one because it's so freaking popular. And I just cannot imagine that I'm not going to pick up the second one just because of the hype. I know that's not why you should pick up a book, but I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Let me have fun with it. I don't know. I just know there's weird dragon stuff in there, and that is, yeah. I don't think since I read Eragon in I don't know which grade, definitely still in high school, I haven't read any dragon stories anymore. But I'm so looking forward to it. And there have been so many vlogs about this book. There has to be potential, right? There has to be. Please don't let me down. Okay, so these were 2 books because I also put Iron Flame on here. Then, finally not the first part of a series, but another part of a series that is coming out. It is the third part of Crescent City. And I filmed a vlog for Crescent City, the second part of it, House of Sky and Breath. And I never got around to edit it, and I don't know if I should still post it because I filmed it and it's very long and very in detail and it has spoilers. But I put all this effort in it, and now it has been a while and I don't know if I should still post it because it was so long ago that I filmed it. And it also took me kind of like half a year to get through this book, and I vlogged the whole thing. So yeah, I'm going to try to also vlog the Crescent City Part 3. It's going to come out in German in March. So I'm not going to vlog it before that, and I'm not going to read it before that, even though it's out in English already. But yeah, that's something that I'm really, really looking forward to, because that cliffhanger at the end of the second part, it's insane, and I just want to know how it continues. And then what I think is the last fantasy on this list is Babel by R.F. Kuang. And that is supposed to be a historical fantasy, which I usually don't like to read. I'm more into urban fantasy and fantasy that is a little more easy to read. Because historical fantasy often has this really weird language that I just can't really get into. So that's why I usually don't tend to enjoy it as much as I enjoy urban fantasy or modern fantasy. But as always, there are exceptions to the rule. And because I want to get more into dark academia, this one is also one that is always on the list if you look for dark academia books. And that's why I definitely want to pick it up, even though it's also really long, and I have lots of long books on my list. But anyways, I'm certain that I can do it somehow. We'll see how, but somehow it's going to work out. And I'm really interested to read more dark academia, and I think that hopefully is going to give me the motivation to get through a historical fantasy book. Because if it is more in an academic setting, I think it could work for me. But I'm going to find it out, and if I don't enjoy it, I can still just DNF it. And that is my plan for this book, not to DNF it, but to just try and see if I like it. And maybe that's going to be my gateway into historical fantasy, who knows. Next, I'm going to show you a book that I got gifted by my mom. It is Someone Else's Shoes by Jojo Moyes, and I really want to read this year because my mom gave it to me as a gift, and now I want to be polite, I don't know, but I just don't want to leave this on my shelf. And I know if I don't read it this year and I don't put it on my list with priorities, I'm probably not going to pick this up just randomly because I'm interested in the storyline or something like that, because this is a book that I think I'm going to enjoy once I start reading it, but it doesn't spark the same kind of excitement that I have with some of the other books that I put on the list. So this one is more like a thing that I put on there to remind myself to pick this up and finally get around to reading it and be a good daughter. That my mom is going to be angry if I don't read it, but I think I just want to tell her, look, I've read the book that you gave me, please give me more books. No, that's obviously not the reason, right? But yeah, I think this is also leaning more onto the literary fiction side of things instead of the romance side of like the variety of books that Jojo Moyes has put out. But I don't know. So I'm going to be interested to see that. And I think I'm kind of in a weird mood this year where I'm gravitating more towards fantasy and literary fiction books. So I think this is maybe going to be a good time to read this, because I'm not really set on just reading romance all the time, and even my fantasy or literary fiction books have to have romance in them all the time. So yeah, maybe it's going to be a good time. Maybe I'm also going to put this off like I did last year. Don't know. We'll see. And then I think the last physical book that I have here, out of all of the ones I want to read, is The Little Cottage in Ireland by Julie Catlin. This is a romance book, but it is by an author that I tend to always come back to, and I really enjoy all of her books so far. I think there was none of them that I thought like, don't know. Maybe like there was a 3-star book or something, but that was as worse as it has gotten. So I know that I'm going to enjoy this, and I have owned this book for quite a while now. I think I also put it on my list last year, but I did end up reading a different book by Julie Catlin, I ended up reading The Little Castle in Scotland or something like that. So this is going to be the year for this book. And I think in the other book, the one that was set in Scotland, there were already hints towards friendships and relationships inside this book. So it wasn't like the smartest decision to read the other one first, but these are all so loosely connected to each other in this series that it doesn't really matter in which order you read them, which I am really grateful for, because then you just can pick them up whenever you want, and you're not going to spoil any of the surprises or any of the outcomes. You know how these will end anyways, don't you? So yeah, this is about someone, I think, taking a cooking course in Ireland, and that is really nice. I think it's going to be about a lot of good food and good recipes and like fresh regional cooking and all that cozy stuff. And I'm also really into cooking right now, so I think this might be like a good fit. And I did lie to you. That was not the last physical book that I want to read. Another one is that one. It is The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue, and I have put this on my list last year. I know it, and I put it on so many TBRs, and I just didn't read it, and I don't know why. And I really want to read this book, but I just never pick it up when I'm like, what should I read next? And I think it also had to do with me traveling a lot and not picking up physical books that I had at home, and like moving to different cities, stuff like that. But still, I need to read this book this year, otherwise it's just not going to happen. And I don't know, I really don't know why I just can't seem to read this book. Just pick it up, start it, I don't know. Do you ever have that you just have a book on your shelf and you want to read it, but then if you're like, should I read it now? Every single time the answer is no. Or you just gravitate more towards a different book or something that is, I don't know, easier to read or might fit your mood better or something like that. I'm a really strong mood reader, so that's why that tends to happen to me. I don't know. But now every time I see this book, I'm like, I should really read this. And there's no good reason not to. And then we have some new fun ideas. I don't know, to me, these sound fun right now. Don't know if I'm going to agree when I start reading all of those. But I really want to get more into a certain author, and that author is Taylor Jenkins Reid. I wanted to start reading books by Taylor Jenkins Reid also for a really long time now. Didn't do it, and I think last year I already did that I try to read books by a specific author and like check out if I like their writing style and stuff like that. And the books by Taylor Jenkins Reid that I want to pick up are Malibu Rising, Daisy Jones and the Six, because I also really want to watch the TV show and I can't do that if I hadn't read the book before, so I need to read that book before. And then The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I just want to say The Seven Lives of Evelyn Hugo as if she's a cat, I don't know. Yeah. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So just because these have been on my TBR the longest, I know that she has brought out some other books like Harry Soto and stuff that also sound really interesting to me, but I think these are also the ones that I saw the most hype for. Definitely The Seven Husbands and Daisy Jones. I don't know about Malibu Rising, but I really liked the storyline when I read the synopsis. So that's why I'm going to pick up these ones first. And I've never read anything by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is a shame because she's such a popular author. And I really want to see what the hype is about. And then we have some books that I found while I was looking around bookshops in London and the surrounding areas, and I really wanted to put these on my TBR because I have picked them up so many times while I was in the bookstore and I was like, should I buy this? I didn't buy them, but I still plan on reading them because they are available through my audiobook app and stuff like that, and really, really want to pick them up because they sounded so good and I was so tempted to buy them. First one is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellos. And I don't know why, but something about the title and the cover of the book was what made me really want to pick this up. I know that's not the most profound, but still I just want to read it. I want to read it. The next one is also one that just the title is what really drew me towards this book. It is I Want to Die, but I Also Want to Eat, Take Bookie. Probably really butchered that name. I'm so sorry, but that is just, to me, it's such a funny title, even though it's a kind of sad title. And I think it's also not, I think it's non-fiction. I think it's a memoir or something. So I'm really interested to see if I'm going to enjoy it. It's not a really long book. And yeah, so that's not really, the stakes aren't that high if I pick it up and I don't enjoy it. I think that's one of the books that you could probably still finish. But yeah, great title choice. Definitely relatable. I don't know. I've never eaten that dish, so I can't tell. But now I kind of want to. Another one that I saw so many times in bookshops, it is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And that one also one of my friends is currently reading, and I'm really excited to hear what her opinion on that is. I don't know if she's already finished that. She's more of a slow reader, so that might also take a while. But yeah, really interesting book, and I think also part of a series and part of me trying to read more diverse, culturally diverse books. Same with the next book, Breasts and Eggs by Mieko Kawakami. I did pick up a different book by Mieko Kawakami, which is called All the Lovers in the Night, and I enjoyed that so much. And that is why I also want to pick up this one, because I'm just interested to see more of her writing. It's also really popular. I actually saw a lot of reviews around that as well online, and I think it's also her most popular book probably. And yeah, that just really made me want to pick it up. Great author, interested to see what she has to say. And then same kind of goes for Good Material by Dolly Alderton. I read her memoir in, I don't know, I think in summer. And that made me really curious to read more of her books, and my friend has read this book, Good Material, and that's why I want to pick it up as well. Then a book that I already started last year, but I never got around to finish it. It is As Good as That by Holly Jackson. I love that series. I love the whole teenage detective kind of thing that is going on in there, and I started it and I couldn't continue because my library wouldn't allow me to check that book out when I was in England anymore. So that was really frustrating because I really wanted to continue it, and now I have to wait until it's available again. Such a bummer, but still I get to enjoy this book this year. And I'm really sure that I will enjoy it. And the last book on this list, oh my god, it is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And this book I also wanted to pick up last year, but didn't get to it for all kinds of reasons. And I really enjoy the cover as well, but I also heard really good things about this book, I think by Chloe at Chloe Bunny. And she has talked about this book in such an intriguing, exciting way that I really thought, like, I need to read this. And I also saw this a lot in bookshops, where I think the cover comes across much better than online. And it is about this plotline that's kind of centered around video game design, and that is something that really intrigues me because it's something that I also I don't work in video game design, but I have done similar stuff at university. So I'm kind of intrigued by this whole idea, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I really enjoyed, for example, the film Ready Player One as well. So I think it's going to be probably a good fit for me. So yeah, these were my 24 books for 2024. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know what you plan to read this year, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!